Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are laying out the absolute ultimate roadmap for navigating the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles and securing that learner's permit. Are you ready for the open road? Let's be real, a learner's permit isn't just a piece of paper, it is literally your golden ticket to independence. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the exact step-by-step process so you can save hours of time, completely avoid the nightmare of getting your paperwork rejected, and most importantly, pass your tests on the very first try. Okay, so let's dive right into it. Indiana has this progressive licensing framework, right? It's designed to slowly introduce you to the road to keep everyone safe. But they recently completely changed the game with the timeline. Thanks to House Bill 1200, which goes into effect on July 1st, 2026, the state actually dropped the licensing age. So now, if you successfully complete an approved driver's ed program, you can get your probationary license directly on your 16th birthday. They totally scrapped the old rule that made you wait an extra 90 days. Talk about a massive win. To get started, you've basically got two distinct pathways. Now, if you want to get behind the wheel as early as possible, you're going to want the driver's education pathway. This lets you apply for your permit at exactly 15 years old. But there is a catch. You've got to be actively enrolled in a state-approved driver ed program. That means 30 hours of classroom time and 6 hours behind the wheel. Oh, and you have to bring a physical certificate of driver education, or CDE, to the BMV to prove it. On the flip side, if you go the standard pathway and skip the formal instruction, you literally can't even apply for a permit until your 16th birthday, which obviously pushes your final licensing date way back. But here's the absolute crucial point. No matter which of those two paths you take, you are bound to a magic number, 180. Every single applicant has to hold their learner's permit for a mandatory 180 days before they are even allowed to take the driving skills exam for a real license. And during that time, you've got to log 50 hours of supervised driving practice, with at least 10 of those hours happening at night. So yeah, you absolutely cannot shortcut the practice time. Section 1. Packing for the trip. Required documents. Now, gathering the right paperwork is honestly the biggest hurdle for most families. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. Before you even think about driving down to the BMV, you have to make sure your credentials meet federal Real ID compliance standards. To walk out with a permit, you have to bring documents that satisfy 4 distinct categories. You need proof of identity, proof of lawful status in the U.S., proof of your social security number, and finally, proof of Indiana residency. Now, sometimes one document, like an unexpired U.S. passport, can knock out both identity and lawful status at the same time, but you still have to make absolutely sure all 4 bases are covered. And listen closely, because the rules for these documents are incredibly strict. For identity, you'll need an original or certified copy of a birth certificate. And no, those little footprints on a hospital-issued certificate will not work. Or you can use a valid passport. For your social security number, they want an original social security card, a recent W-2, or a pre-printed pay stub that has your full name and SSN right there on it. But here is the absolute kicker. Photocopies, altered documents, or just showing a digital picture on your phone, flatly rejected, no way around it. You literally must bring the physical, original documents. Now, that 4th category, residency, usually requires 2 printed documents showing your name and physical address, like a utility bill or a bank statement. But let's be real, how many 15-year-olds do you know with a water bill in their name? Probably 0. That is exactly where State Form 5879, the Indiana Residency Affidavit, comes into play. It's a lifesaver of a regulatory workaround. Basically, a parent or guardian who lives with the teen can sign this affidavit in person out the branch. That parent just has to show their own valid Indiana ID and 2 proofs of residency to essentially vouch for the applicant. Speaking of parents, we need to have a quick heart-to-heart here. If the applicant is under 18, Indiana law requires an adult, usually a custodial parent, to sign an agreement of financial liability. By signing this, you are officially assuming what's called joint and several liability. In plain English, that means if your minor driver causes an accident, damages property, or racks up administrative fines, you, the cosigner, are legally and financially on the hook for it. The state is basically shifting the risk from themselves directly to your household. Now, you can cancel this at any time with a written request, but if you do, it immediately revokes your teen's driving privileges. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, you've got your pristine original paperwork in hand. You're ready. Let's talk about the actual BMV experience and what to expect on the day of your visit. Here is a totally actionable insider tip for you, and it's a real game changer. While some services at the BMV let you schedule an appointment online to skip the line, you generally cannot make an appointment to take the written exam. It is walk-in only. Because of this, you absolutely positively must arrive at the branch at least 30 minutes before closing time. Seriously, if you show up 20 minutes before those doors lock, they will just turn you away and tell you to try again tomorrow. Don't let that happen. The very first hurdle once you get to the counter is the vision screening. You'll look into this little tabletop device called an Optec 1000. Quick tip, if you normally wear glasses or contacts, make sure you're actually wearing them. If your visual acuity in your best eye is 20/40 or better, boom, you are cleared for unrestricted driving. If it drops to 20/50, you'll get a Type B restriction slapped on your permit, which just means you're legally required to wear your corrective lenses while driving. And if you fail the screening completely, they'll hand you an eye referral form and you'll have to go see an optometrist before you can move forward. Section 2. Navigating the obstacles, the written exam. Once your eyes are cleared, you're facing the main boss of this journey. You are definitely going to want to study the official Indiana Driver's Manual beforehand. You can even tap into a ton of library video resources and practice tests online. But what's really interesting about how this test is graded is that, yes, you need an 80% to pass, but it's not an overall 80%. The exam is actually split into two entirely separate sections, and you have to score at least an 80% on each individual section independently. You literally cannot ace one part and bomb the other. That counts as a total failure. Let's break down the exact numbers. The first section is all about traffic laws and safe driving practices. You're going to see 34 questions here, and you have to get at least 28 of them correct. The second section is road signs. That one has 16 questions, and you need to nail at least 14 of them. And recognizing a yellow diamond shape brilliantly illustrates the exact kind of knowledge you need for that road sign section. See, the exam doesn't just hold your hand and ask you to read words off of a sign. It actually tests your ability to recognize signs strictly by their shape and color. So, for example, you need to know instantly that this specific shape always indicates a warning or some kind of potential hazard coming up. Let's talk about common mistakes so you can avoid them. Rushing through the questions is hands down the #1 reason people fail. Seriously, just take a breath and take your time. If you do happen to fail, it's not the end of the world, but you do have to wait until the next business day to try again. However, here is a massive warning, the triple failure rule. If you fail the exam 3 times within a single application cycle, your entire application is voided, kaput. You literally have to start the whole administrative process over again, submit all your pristine paperwork again, and eventually pay the fee again. But assuming you navigate all of that successfully, which we know you will, let's move forward and talk about the cost. This standard Indiana learner's permit only costs $9. Seriously, that's it. What's honestly fantastic about this system is that the knowledge exam and the vision screening are entirely free up front. You literally only pay that $9 fee at the counter after you have successfully passed everything. Okay, we are officially at the finish line. Just a couple of final housekeeping notes. Whenever you are filling out official BMV forms, always use blue or black ink. Just trust me on that one. Once you hand over your $9, the clerk is going to print out a paper interim permit right there on the spot. You can legally use that piece of paper to start practicing immediately with your driving instructor or your parents. Your official hard plastic permit card will then show up in your mailbox within about 14 days. Real quick, before we wrap up, I need to give a professional disclaimer here. Administrative regulations, exact fee amounts, and required document lists can occasionally change over time. While we've definitely covered the definitive framework for you today, you should always verify the latest, most up-to-date details on the official Indiana BMV website, that's in.gov/BMV, before you make your trip. So, what does this all mean? We've handed you the roadmap, all the insider tips, and the exact requirements. The only thing left in this equation is you and your preparation. With the absolute freedom of the open road waiting just around the corner, will you put in the time to study the manual and pass on your first try? Grab that driver's manual, start studying today, and go get that permit. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and safe driving out there.